Hey everybody, it's Wayne, and I know what you're thinking. That's a mighty bold statement to say that I'm beating all three of those popular covered call ETFs, JEPI, JEPQ, and DIVO, in which I am long on all three for full disclosure. All right, so this is technically going to be an update to a newer series that I created a couple of months ago called Race to 100. For those newer subscribers in the house, thank you so much for tuning in. I would encourage you to go back and take a look at the link videos in the comments to the first two videos. I'll give you the quick rundown. I decided to see how fast I could reach 100 shares of SCHD, essentially using my wife's Roth IRA account and using my Roth IRA account. Now, up until this year, both of us had never contributed one penny. So earlier in 2023, we decided to be smart and we were able to use the backdoor Roth method, and we were able to max out 2022 and 2023 for both of our accounts. Now with 2022, we took that $6,000 each and we invested in SCHD, and that bought us about 82 shares at the time. For the next contribution for 2023 of $6,500 each, we took a different approach. My wife took her $6,500 and invested in three popular covered call ETFs. You guessed it, JEPQ, JEPI, and DIVO. And the idea being, can she take the monthly dividends / distributions and use that monthly income to accumulate additional shares of SCHD? And with my $6,500, I left that money uninvested, and instead I was going to focus on selling options my way to see if I could accumulate a higher share count than my wife's account. And guys, I'm here to tell you, listen, we'll get right to it. It's a wrap. The race is done. It literally took me a month and 1 week to accumulate that additional 19 shares of SCHD. And I'm going to show you guys why today I'm bringing the receipts when I talk about my method is better than JEPI, JEPQ, and DIVO. All right, so let's go ahead and kick things off by looking at my wife's Roth IRA account. Remember, in addition to investing that initial $6,000 into SCHD, we took the remaining $6,500 and spread that out between JEPQ, JEPI, and DIVO. And so currently she has the number of shares that you see here in the upper right hand corner. Let's go ahead and take a look at the spreadsheet, and on the right hand side we're going to focus on all of those incoming dividends / distributions. And you can see in May the only incoming dividend was from DIVO, just based on the timing of when we made those purchases. June was really the first month in which we received all three of those dividend payments, equaling $40.75. Now we're about mid-July, and so we've already received the two dividends from JEPQ and JEPI, but you can see we're going to have a pattern here of about $40, give or take, on a monthly basis. That's not bad. And in fact, I am long on all three of these in my taxable M1 account. But the reality of it is I've come to really appreciate the power of options. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the left side of the spreadsheet. And this is going to break down all of the cash flow that I have been able to generate in the last 3 months, starting off in May, even though I began this endeavor on May 17th. Just in cash secured puts, I was able to generate $460. Now, I did make a series of purchases, so I am technically trying to duplicate a covered call ETF like JEPQ, like JEPI, like DIVO. And so with those stocks that I purchased, I was able to generate in May $111 in covered calls. That's a total for the month of May of $571. So let's go ahead and splash some math here up on the screen. Remember, my $6,500 I am using to sell options. And so if we take that $571 that I made in the month of May, we divide that by $6,500, that means I was able to generate 8.78%. So in the month of May, I made 8.78%. Let's go ahead and take a look at Seeking Alpha and see how my 8.78% compared to JEPI, JEPQ, and DIVO. And if we look at JEPI, you can see here the forward yield is 10.42%. JEPQ, the forward yield is 11.52%. And DIVO is 4.68%. So you might say, well, Wayne, you're full of it because you just said you made 8.78%. That would mean the only covered call ETF that you beat in the month of May was DIVO. But you have to remember, these dividend yield for these three companies is on an annual basis. And I only share the 8.78%, which is how much I made in the month of May. If I was able to replicate that, so that 8.78% times 12 months, that actually means that my APY would be 105%. Now, I know what you're thinking, Wayne. There's no way that you're going to be able to replicate 8.5% or more on a monthly basis. Well, let's go back to the spreadsheet and see how I did in the month of June. So going back to the spreadsheet, let's go ahead and focus on the month of June. And again, this was even a better month than the month of May, in which I sold a total of 19 cash secured puts and I made $539. Remember, I also am buying stocks as well. So I had 17 contracts in which I was able to sell covered calls and I generated $271. That's a total for the month of June of $810. Remember, the starting pot of money that I'm working with is $6,500. So once again, if we take the $810 that I made and we divide that by the amount of money that I had starting on June, that means my yield for the month of June was 12.46%. That's for 1 month. So once again, we have to multiply that by 12 months. If I was able to replicate that, that would be 149%. But remember, I also realize it's not realistic to think that I'm going to be able to replicate the success from month to month. But guess what? Let's now go ahead and focus on the month of July, which, by the way, hasn't even concluded. As of the time of this recording is July 19th. So I've got a good week plus of selling options, but already I'm off to a roaring start. Take a look here at cash secured puts, in which I've sold a total of 14 contracts. I've made $331. Once again, I have stocks that I'm also selling covered calls against within that Roth account, and selling those 8 contracts, I have made so far $106. If we just stopped right now, that means between covered calls and cash secured puts, I have made a total of $437. Once again, the pot of money that I'm working with is quote unquote only $6,500. And so if we take 437, we divide that by 6,500. So far, that would put me at 6% for the month of July. I feel very confident that I'm going to be able to generate, at least on the cash secured put side, some additional funds. And again, if we take that 6% and we multiply it by 12, that would give me somewhere around 79 to 80% of profit. So again, I go back to, do I think that JEPI, JEPQ, and DIVO are great investments if you're looking to generate monthly cash flow? Absolutely. That's why I have them in my portfolio. But what I've really begun to realize is I can do this myself. I can sell covered calls and cash secured puts, and I don't need to rely on that monthly distribution to take that cash flow. So remember, I had 81 shares of SCHD in my account. I was able to purchase the remaining shares, getting to 100 by June 26th. And it just goes to show the power of that cash flow. All right. This brings me to an important topic. One of the most likely comments I'm likely to receive on this video is, okay, Wayne, yeah, you're selling cash secured puts. Yeah, you're selling covered calls. And of course, you're making some decent premium because you're selling against positions like Tesla or Amazon or Google or other quality, higher price stocks. And remember, in my Roth account, I only had $6,500 to work with. I cannot contribute additional money. And so I had to really look at stocks that fit a lower price point for me. And so I want to go ahead and just kind of browse through my spreadsheet here on all of the different positions that I have sold cash secured puts on since beginning this endeavor. And some of these names I'll allow you to do your own research. But the thing that I want to point out here is the collateral. Again, when people say that they do not have enough money to participate in selling options, I don't want to discount that, but I purposely chose cheaper stocks to show that you don't need to have 5,000. You don't need to have 10,000. And if you look at AMC, all I had to have was $500. And when I sold this cash secured put and I had to have $500 in collateral, yeah, I only made $10, but that was $10 that I made on $500. Take a look here at stock ticker BYND and look at the collateral that I've had to have for these series of transactions. Now, yes, Beyond has gone up in share price, But if we look at the earlier point in June, I had to have $1,300 in collateral. And so far, I've been able to sell cash secured put after cash secured put on beyond. And essentially, I have made so far about $375. Let's go ahead and scroll down and look at an even cheaper stock amongst this group of cash secured put options on my spreadsheet. Stock ticker NKLA. I know I'm going to butcher this. The Nikola Corporation. At no point have I ever had to have more than $100 to earn premium. And again, I always go back to, yes, you can sell cash secured puts on companies that are, more than $100 to $200 per share price. But there are stocks out there. I'm not going to call them quality stocks, but there are stocks out there. And in this case, Nikola at one point wasn't even over $1 per share. And so far, just on this stock ticker NKLA, over the series of options that I've sold, I have made $67. Now you might say, Wayne, $67 is not worth it. I think it is, right? And I go back to, it only required me to have $100 per transaction in collateral for these cash secured puts. PACW has also been one that I've talked about in previous videos. I mean, look at PACW. I have pretty much had this stock in heavy rotation. And so far, of the 21 contracts that I have sold, I have made $518. One thing that I also want to point out about PACW is I have never been assigned. And so it just goes to show, if you are confident in the research of the stock that you are going to sell an option on, if you are confident in your skill set on how to properly either allow that contract to expire or buy to close early, I think you're going to make more money than you thought you would. All right, let's go ahead and close things out by looking at some of the options I have sold on the covered call side. Now, it is important to note, when you are selling covered calls, you could absolutely be assigned. And so one of the things that I've noted here in the spreadsheet is if I am assigned on that contract, I will also note the profit. And so not only am I generating cash flow from options, but I'm also generating cash flow by capital appreciation. Now, I do want to point out here what I would call a big misstep in this journey, and that was messing with a leveraged stock ticker UVXY. I will allow you to do your own research, but I actually didn't take a loss on this from the covered call transaction. I actually bought to close early. I saw that it was going to be a disaster of me owning that stock, and so I sold out at a loss. And so if I will say one thing, this is definitely something you have to be aware of. But again, I go back to take a look at the stock ticker SPCE, which is Virgin Galactic. Not only have I made some money selling cash secured puts against SPCE, but I also own the stock, so I'm selling covered calls as well. And again, it's a stock that I think I own for a share price of $4 per. So, I mean, I'm into it for $400, and so far I've made $84 across these 5 transactions. So be sure to do your own research. I don't want you guys to take these stock tickers and say, oh, well, if Wayne's doing it and he's making money, then I'm going to be able to replicate that as well. In a future video, I am going to break down some resources that I'm using when I'm researching these stocks. More research than I would do with, let's say, known stocks like Amazon or Google or Tesla. A lot of these stocks I had never heard of until I began selling options against them. And I think that's where most investors can go wrong. You see a cheap price point and you just jump in. I can assure you, even if you don't agree with these stocks, you would say, Wayne, I know all about AMC. I know all about Open. I know all about SoFi. These are stocks that I would never invest in. And I won't argue that point with you, but I will say before I sold the contract, I did do research. And so that is something I'm looking to explore in future videos. You guys will have to let me know whether or not you want to see that. Let's go ahead and close things out with this final look. So far, with my capital gains / loss, I have made $1,793. If you compare that to how much I've made in about 2.5 months from owning JEPQ, JEPI, and DIVO, this is why I feel very confident in saying yes, on a monthly, consistent basis, my strategy is beating all 3 of these very popular, high-yielding covered call ETFs. I cannot wait to show you guys more updates in the future. We'll see you guys on the next one.